call to order the special, whatever this is,
workshop.
Special City Council meeting workshop at 6:03. We have a quorum and kick it off.
All right. I was asked to put on the workshop agenda discussion on increasing the hotel motel tax rate. Yeah, and Lucy's saying, let's wait until Mary gets here. So can we move to the agenda item then?
Sure, I guess so.
And the only agenda item we've got, as far as an action item, is consider approval of resolution number 2012-15, revising general library policy to include the fee schedule as recommended by the Guthrie Library Board. And Cindy's here to explain what all those changes are.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's important to regularly review the policies, and it was definitely time to do that. So the most significant change that you're going to see is with regard to the student cards. Previously, the policy basically was, students that live in Logan County, basically Logan County residents can get a library card. Well, we have a couple schools and districts that...
We have a chair right here for you.
...that straddle the county line. We've got Mulhall, Orlando, and then also Cashin over in Kingfisher County. Both of those school districts serve students from Logan County and then the surrounding counties, Noble, Payne, and Kingfisher. And it's my belief and the library board's belief that if kids are attending schools in Logan County or the schools are serving Logan County, then we should support those students and those schools by getting them a library card. I've spoken with the school librarian at Mulhall, Orlando. She said the number of students there is minimal that are across the county line, but we'd still like to help them out. And the way that we even got started with this was that school librarian won a grant to distribute e-readers to all of the students. Wow. And she wants to refer them to us, for access to e-books. And, of course I want to support that and do what we can in that regard. So we just changed the wording to say students who attend school districts that serve Logan County are eligible for a card. So that's the big thing. I think it's a great change. We're reaching out to other parts of the county. We're not quite so closed in on Guthrie because we do serve the entire county, and supporting children is a good thing.
Yes.
Supporting the students. So
I agree.
that's the major change. There's a little bit of rewording just to kind of standardize the language and be more specific in certain cases. As far as the fee schedule goes, we just codified the fact that we do charge a little bit more for color copies, and that's just purely materials. And we put on there that, let me scroll down to it please, I'm sorry. Oh, long distance faxes, we just added just an extra quarter per page. So regular faxes are $1 a page, long distance is $1.25. And we added on that we do provide notary service for free. So not a lot of folks know that, so we wanted to put it in the policy. But that's the...
How many notaries do you have?
We have 3 right now.
Wow.
So
You'll always have 3.
We only had 1 for a while, so we just got two of us certified. Were there any questions for me?
Did you say the notary service was?
It is free.
Thank you. Okay, yes.
Legally, we can charge up to $5, but we want to have that as a free service, definitely.
Great.
Thank you.
Some money out there?
Breaking the rules.
Well, Cindy, those changes sound really good.
Thank you.
They'll be helping a lot more children, and that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And the school librarian, the school principal, and also one of the ladies that kind of is in charge of the grant process that occurred all wrote us letters of support, and we're just so thankful and excited about this opportunity. So, it's a good thing.
Every time we have one of these meetings, it seems like you have something new right up there, and I appreciate that.
Trying.
It's great.
That is it as far as agenda items. If somebody has questions on minutes or claims?
And Randall's right on cue.
Yes, he is. Thank you for letting me go out of order, Vice Mayor.
You're quite welcome. It was Mary's fault. Thank you.
Hey, it was my fault, sorry.
But you're out of order.
Sorry, it is my fault.
So I guess we'll roll back to the discussions on a hotel motel tax rate. And I think this is an item that Mary wanted to bring up first.
And Lucy's gonna talk for me, and Cody will be talking.
Basically, we are approaching council to have you consider increasing the hotel motel tax for Guthrie. Obviously, the hotel motel tax only comes from hotels and motels. It comes from the stays that people have there. As many, if we have more stays, then we get a little more revenue. And the hotels and motels and B&Bs get more business and they get more revenue and everything is good. I think really and truly Guthrie is poised right now for a second renaissance. I think that we have a lot of new and exciting things coming up. The distillery coming into town, restaurants opening up all over the place, new shops going in the downtown area, and I think there's it seems to be a new sense of cooperation in the community. People working together, schools working with the city, the normal people in town just enjoying what we have here a lot more. So it's important for us, although the 4% that we've been at ever since the tax was initiated, it has been wonderful and helpful. The 4% that we're asking you to increase by is going to help us get ahead of the curve. We've really done a good job with what we have. We have wonderful investments yearly that we use the CVB money for. As far as promoting Guthrie, we go to travel shows. We have lots of paper stuff that we send out all over the world, actually. And it's helped us to maintain a really good presence in the travel community, but everything is increasing. And the more opportunities we have to promote Guthrie means we need a few more funds to be able to do that and enhance and develop attractions that are here to help the businesses that are already in town and the attractions that we have already in town, the museums, everything that we have in town needs to have a support base. And it obviously doesn't need to come directly from the city because you don't have that budget. But it has to come from somewhere, and it mostly comes from tourism dollars, and that's what the CVB is there to promote. In order to get more attention, we have to vie for the attention of the travel industry. And that requires us to have more time spent, more travel being made, and we have to have placement, and placement costs money. For us to be able to have the ads that we have now running on Lifetime, the History Channel, and what's the other one, Mary?
Lifetime, History, National Geographic.
National Geographic Channel. For us to have that, we have it running in the Oklahoma City market and the Tulsa market right now for several months through our association with Frontier Country. But it costs a lot of money for us to be able to do that. But it is going to be rewarded. That investment will be rewarded in the future. And so basically there are many, many, many areas that can benefit from an increase in the hotel motel tax. And there are many other towns in the area that have an 8% tax. It's not radical or crazy. Enid has it, Muskogee has it, Ponca City has it, Woodward has a 6% tax. Enid, they have that hotel motel tax. It goes to the city, and the city pays the CVB out of their hotel motel, out of their general fund rather. In Muskogee, 100% of the hotel motel tax goes directly to the CVB. In Ponca City, the hotel motel tax is collected by the city and given to the CVB. In Woodward, the hotel motel tax, again, all of it goes to the CVB. So there are a lot of towns that are seeing the benefit of this, and obviously in Oklahoma, our hotel motel tax is much lower than in larger, more metropolitan areas of the country. So it's something that I think will really be a benefit and a boon to our town. It'll help us to really get kick-started and really make that leap. I think we're just on the precipice of something really great happening in Guthrie again, and not that we aren't great already, but you know, there's even more to come, and I think it's important for us to be ready for that and not be overwhelmed when it gets here. So that's it. If you have questions, anybody?
Is that what you're asking for, an 8%?
4%.
4% increase.
But total
It would be an 8%
Yes.
total.
And Cody's got some information
Yes.
for us on the other half of it.
Right. As Lucy was saying earlier,
Come down on this end, just out of curiosity. Just, that way you're memorialized forever.
all right. As Lucy mentioned, it's not just the CVB that receives any benefit from this, it's also our Parks Department, and I'll let Maxine touch on that here in just a minute. But the CVB gets 2/3 of the tax that is collected, and the Parks Department, the Parks Board gets 1/3 of that as well. And so we're not only increasing marketing for CVB efforts, but we're also increasing what we can do as far as quality of life for our citizens in our parks districts as well. What I encourage the council to consider this as almost a self-sustainability project. The more money that we can bring in with these taxes, the more marketing we can go out to other communities outside of Guthrie, and the more efforts can be put in towards reaching visitors, to reaching people that might just be stopping by just for fun, just because they heard about us somewhere. So it is almost a self-sustainability project. And our citizens directly won't be taxed. You know, we're looking at the increase in tax percentage going more to visitors and everything like that. And so it's not really a direct tax on our citizens. And so I would encourage you guys to consider this almost as a, the more money that we make, the more money we can send out to make more money eventually. And so it's all, I think, in good efforts. So I'll let Maxine
Is
touch.
any of this going to go to the Pollard Theater then?
It's going to go towards recruiting efforts and whatever the CVB decides that is. I think that they have.
There's an agreement that's signed every year. Council decides how that money is to be spent. Of course, the ballot will dictate on what has to be spent on.
So
But-
does the city right now get the funds and then we distribute it?
Distribute it
Yes.
to.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So it's always in the council's perspective every year.
that's correct.
Yeah, if
It's
they
a
want to
renewable
renew that
every-
contract each year,
Okay.
Yeah.
And if we need to earmark it to other
we can.
things
So
like
like the Oklahoma Sports Museum or the Pollard Theater that are desperately needing money, we could help out then.
Through an agreement, right, Randall?
You have to do an agreement, it has to be, the ballot time, I didn't bring that with me, but it's basically 2/3 has to be used for tourism and convention or visitors, and 1/3 for the parks. I think there's a 5% administrative for the city, but you've got to be within those definitions for these funds.
When are you guys wanting to put this, or look at throwing this out on a ballot?
Lucy, do you have an answer to that?
Is it
January?
January?
Is there like one that?
Okay, we had
I
discussed.
think we looked at January.
We're trying to tie it with the next election.
No, not the-
We actually discussed all this with
No,
Matt.
I mean,
Oh, the
And
next
Matt
local.
recommended.
yeah, local election, I'm sorry.
January 8th, that's the election date,
Okay.
where the resolution would have to be submitted to the election board by November 8th.
With the Visitors Bureau,
For,
January.
For
To
January.
go on the ballot.
60-day
but
period.
that's not
Sorry.
the, that's
That's
not the
not-
next,
no.
that's, I mean, we'd be making a special
Election.
election just for this.
Right?
And that's an expense.
it was like $9,000 somewhere in there.
Between 5 and 8,
Yeah.
depending on
5 and
the length of the ballot. But the general election for council is April 2nd.
Is it in the budget to do a special election?
No.
No.
Is the Visitors Bureau gonna work at, I think one of the concerns I have, people are gonna feel like that's gonna be a tax. You have to really, in the minds of people, say, look, this is not gonna be a tax on citizens of Guthrie, it's gonna be people coming in. And that's work. You can't just assume. You can't assume that. You can't assume people know that. They just see a tax, and they think, I don't want a tax, you know. So I think somebody has to go out there, and I know the city can't do that. So I think if the Visitors Bureau has to do that.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it is.
Randall, is the 2/3, 1/3, is that in the law or is that in
That's
the
in the
agreement that
ballot
we got?
title when it was passed the first time, and I don't think
Let's have a new change.
I don't think there's any desire, at least from what I know about this, to change the ballot title. It's just to increase the amount that goes for those uses.
Do you folks know approximately how much more money this will bring?
It'll
And-
bring in, well, see, I ran some numbers yesterday, and we've increased. This last year, we had,
Last year,
Go ahead.
we have made it as much money right now in this quarter, the third quarter, as we did the whole year last year.
so
I mean,
we've
so
already increased our tourism
Our efforts are already.
with what we've been doing.
However, estimate $100,000.
No.
No?
Well, what we've got programmed
Total?
into the budget, I think it's 120 or 125,000, and that's for both
But I mean,
tourism and parks.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
that goes in, I see it on the.
I guess my question, I'm not asking it correctly, the extra 4% that we're asking for, so you're saying it will probably double?
Well,
What
we're
the
getting
figure is now?
4%, so
Yes.
the assumption would be,
So double to the parks, double to the tourism.
Right, but double the, I mean,
Mhm.
okay. And how much is it right now?
Tourism, I think we programmed it at 75,000.
Right.
With the 4%, and like 38,000 for the parks portion.
Are there some designated things we need for the parks?
That's what I was gonna
And
have.
that's-
Yeah.
Well, hang on, where we start.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Our parks are heavily used, and particularly in the summer. And the very first thing, of course, are the fountains that the council have wanted for our dried up pond right now. But you know, it will fill up. We can be sure that it will. Of course, we'll probably want to add at least another one of those fountains in Mineral Wells, and then one for the Hudson Lake in Highland Park. Now that was the top priority for the council. The second group of prioritized items were through the park board. And the first item there was to address the parking area around Highland Hall, because the elderly people stumble around on that poorly gravelled, and you know, you've got rocks and the drainage is bad, and if we can get in there and put some asphalt or concrete, it will sure help their getting back and forth from their vehicles to the hall. The second item of their priority list was repair the pillars of the entrance of Highland Park. You know, they're very old. I don't know what, they're about 100 years old, and they're in desperate need of some help. And we'd like to keep those sandstone pillars, so that's going to be a little bit of an expense. And then the third item was to add another skateboard event to Ritz Hop Skate Park. So those were the three top priorities, and we figured all three of those would be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $30,000 by the time you did the asphalt and everything. Then there are about 6 items that need to go to Park Board for approval and prioritization for future. We need to complete the swim beach for the Liberty Lake. We also need to replace the lights, or some of the lights at the trails, because that is a grant and we have to maintain those. And that's quite a cost. It's time to repair and replace some of the split rail fencing around the different park areas. Nothing has been done to that since about 2002 when that was installed. Playground equipment has not been replaced or added to since 2001. We also have in the past used some of the funds to help us with our mowing equipment. That hasn't been done in quite some time, and our mowing machines are beginning to really wear out. We had been on a 3-year replacement plan, but that kind of went by the wayside. And we're hoping that we can maybe get 1 or 2 replaced. So that's important. And one of the other things that Verdell said that we really should look at some point in time is adding a second pavilion, a smaller pavilion in Mineral Wells Park that keeps with the historic flavor, but it would also allow us to have more citizens' activities. That pavilion is rented out just all the time. But if we had that second smaller one, it would give us a little more flexibility, and the citizens would have some different options.
So there's a need for it.
There's a need, a huge need for it.
There's swimming pool.
And we didn't even touch
Spent off of that too.
We didn't even
Yeah.
touch that.
Sports
These were
complex.
just, oh yeah.
The
So,
sports complex
Well,
would
it's quite
bring
odd.
the people in and the money.
It's quite obvious Cindy would charge more money on the library fines. We could solve it.
yeah.
Seems very simple. I don't understand.
Randall, I have a question for you. If,
No, it's
you're
Tuesday. It's Tuesday.
sorry. I understand that the January election, if we do that, will be an extra expense that's not budgeted for. Is there any way to, if we did decide to do that January election, could we take that $5 to $9 grand off the top somehow, the additional, the new taxes we get, the first 5 to 9, go to take care of that election, or is that wrong?
You could, I think you'd have to, right now, I'm trying to think how to do the ballot title of this, because all you're doing is raising the 4% to 8%, so that's, you're leaving the uses identical, and that can be done, yes.
Is that
The
something
question
that
is,
we
do you
bet
want
that
to put that in a ballot title, and does it, because my experience has been the more you put in, the more confusing it gets. But the
Was that something that
question,
just could be
yes,
written
could-
between the CVB and the city to just say, well, that money will come back?
It's
When the
kind of a
first-
pro- a
And there
promotion
is
for
in the
us.
ballot
That's right,
title
the
already, the 5%.
Administrative?
Yeah.
That we,
Administrative.
The
I
administrative.
don't
Right.
think we've ever required
Yeah.
to be paid.
Is that at 5% a year?
Yes.
Mhm.
Wisconsin, okay.
So that's $6,000-7,000 right there.
Your election.
That you could take off the top, basically, and apply to the election without having to put anything else in the ballot title.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the
That's-
5% we're not collecting currently, 5% for admin fee?
That's how I see it. We do it then. We just go ahead and make that collection and then offset our expense for the election. If we wanted to do it in January, if you guys want to push that hard, I mean, that's right around the corner.
I know,
Yes.
that's why,
You know,
yes.
the flip side of it is we wait until the next council election.
I'd like to do January if possible.
And we have to have it on the
You have to have it
Next,
on
uh,
the
next
by
agenda,
November.
next meeting's agenda. to-
Right, and then it's ready to go, I think, for that, if everybody's in
Well, Randall will need to work out a few details, but yeah.
it's, yeah, where it could be.
Okay.
It's up to you guys, though.
Well, I mean, I think if we can offset it with the 5%, you know, I mean, obviously we won't get all of it, but if we can offset the lion's share of it, I don't see why we shouldn't move forward with it. I mean, my personal opinion, I don't know. You
Well,
guys-
my only concern is that we don't have it budgeted, and I
Right.
don't want to knock it, and I mean, 5 to 9,000 doesn't sound like a lot, but
But it is.
if we keep doing that, you know, all these little 5 and 9s are adding up, so that's why I was asking about trying to
Well,
offset
and
the
that'd be
cost.
5% over a whole year, so it'd be a year
Yeah.
recouping, not just an automatic check all of a sudden, so.
Depending on the collections, because
Right.
it's 5%
Yeah,
of
the
what's
collection.
collected.
Well, it's
so-
5% of the collection, so it will, there will be more than 6,000 in that, right?
Well, but you already budgeted the first 4% in this year's budget. It's already budgeted.
Mhm.
But you're gonna pay most of it with the new 4%. You're gonna pay for the election.
Right.
basically.
Anybody? Has there been any pushback that you've heard of? Just out of
Well,
curiosity.
we've talked to some of the hotels and the B&Bs, and, you know, they obviously some of them have concerns. They'd rather see us. One guy called me today and said he'd rather see a 1% tax put on restaurants, which I guess there's some places in Texas that do that. And this was like today, and so I wish I'd had a little bit more heads up. That would have been something to look into, because it would have been a greater revenue stream, obviously, if you put a 1 cent deal and just put it on the restaurants and use it, tag it for tourism. But I don't know what's all involved in that, and that's not a bad idea.
But that way it's not all on
I
the
haven't
back.
a clue on that one either. I don't know
Have you
if
ever
can
heard
do
of that?
in Oklahoma. No, I've heard of it. I mean, not in Oklahoma. I've
Okay.
never heard of it.
It was an attorney from, I don't know, was he from here? It was Grant Luker that, he's an attorney somewhere, and he had, that was his idea, so I hadn't really checked
we
into
look into
it.
it later.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
I don't know.
that's something we can look into later, but that is something that I think should be separate, just because that does
It has to
affect
be
Guthrie's. I mean, if
Right.
you're eating at
Sure.
all at restaurants here,
But that
now
was just-
that will affect you.
But that was just one of the ideas that was just tossed
Yeah.
out. Other
And
than
it would
that,
also take
I
it
haven't
off of the
heard
backs
anything
of the
else.
lodging people completely. I mean, it wouldn't put everything, the whole load up for
Kind of
CBB.
split it.
and-
Is there a concern it's gonna drive their cost up on their room rate, is that what it is, or are they just?
Yeah.
Because they're passing it along
Which
to
it
the
will.
consumer?
But I know time is of the essence if we're trying to get it on the January ballot. At the same time, I don't know, I kind of want to have a public hearing. I don't know how that works I mean, it's a 4%, that's a huge jump. I know it doesn't have to do necessarily with the locals so much as our families coming in and staying and tourists and whatnot, but I hate to just decide this without some type of public forum personally and kind of get some feedback.
We have a month, and that's about it.
You'll have to do a election resolution, and at that time, it's at the council meeting and certainly over for discussion at that time.
If this
So that
is due November.
that would
Do a
have
public
only
hearing
got
at
2
the
weeks.
next one?
Be a public hearing at the next
Be,
meeting.
well, we've got the 60-day, you got a 60-day notice you require between the time you do the resolution and the election, so.
Well, we'll be able to
Like
tell the
November.
people what we want to spend the money for.
So could we do
It's gonna be identical to what's in the ballot.
Sorry,
now.
2/3 and 1/3.
so could we do a forum in between that time, or
Sure, you can do a forum anytime.
anytime? We could do one before then.
We could do a workshop next meeting, do workshop forum.
And it has to
Tell us
stay
what you
at
think.
2/3, 1/3.
Unless you change it, and then it becomes, again, the ballot title becomes more complicated and diluted.
Is that already written?
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, the 4% was very specific in what the money can be used for.
Could it be used to save the pollard?
It can, if saving the Pollard is tourism and
Well, yeah, it is,
Visitors,
it is,
then-
because
then it
people
comes
come
with
here
the
and
definition.
eat here and spend the night here, so yeah, it is.
And I agree, but we've got Bluegrass Festival that brings tourism in, and I don't
Yeah,
want to
you-
start
Well, you don't-
earmarking favorites.
Yeah,
you
what
don't
you,
want
yeah, you
to
start
do
picking
that.
winners and losers.
Yeah.
Right, you don't want to.
can't
Well,
do
the
that.
sports museum is in that too.
Well, I
They're in the
understand,
same spot.
I understand, but I mean, we can't do that on a premise for one entity. I mean, it's,
That's a treacherous road.
You don't want to
Yeah.
earmark it in the ballot title for sure.
Yeah.
we're not the luxury of the federal government that
Well, I think if the Pollard leaves, it's gonna leave a big hole in this town.
Well, can we do next
Okay.
workshop as a forum? 2 weeks?
Yeah, you can do it as a form, but it should also be on the agenda as far as to adopt the ordinance and resolution calling the election. If it doesn't happen then, the next due date will be election for February 12th for a deadline of December 13th for the resolution.
So we don't get it in January, there is a February date.
Mhm.
I want to do it right, I don't, I know we need to get it, I understand the urgency. However, at the same time, I don't want to rush and get things messed up. I want to get it done right, so if we need another,
I'm just thinking all that holiday traffic we'll miss.
Yeah.
Do you think
I
it
mean,
would
I'm
be
just.
bad to try to save the Pollard with part of that money then?
No,
Or
I
build
didn't say it was
sports
bad, I
museum?
was just saying that if we start
You don't
picking
wanna
winners
earmark it.
and, yeah, you can't just say, okay, well, I like you better than you. I mean,
Well, I was just thinking about the public knowing that we're trying to save that too. That's what I was thinking.
Do you want to save the drive-in too? Well, where are you going to draw the line?
Well, that'll be the dilemma.
Yeah,
I
that's
certainly
the
don't want to
problem.
earmark tax,
Well,
other than for what it's used for now.
the Pollard's pretty big, I know that. And I sure would hate to see it
How
go.
much income did they cause us this summer to lose? Because they were closed this summer, right?
No, they didn't miss a show.
I thought that
They always take a
No.
hiatus.
They didn't miss a show.
You know, there were people that funded money enough to keep the shows going.
Yeah.
But that money's running out, and when it's gone, it's gone.
And that's been going on for years.
Yeah. Well, they
And
really
I
losing
think
it
they're
for
looking
years.
to us to try to help save it.
There was an article written in the newspaper saying that they were doing, but they didn't miss a show.
Yeah, they didn't.
No. It made it look like they were going to.
Yeah, I got phone calls on why we weren't bailing them out.
Oh, really?
And they're like,
Well, here's your chance.
All right, so did we resolve anything?
Sounds like we didn't resolve it.
I actually think you're pushing it too hard to do this at the next meeting, to really have a thorough discussion. I think
You would
probably
want
it's more realistic for the February election.
to, I mean, it's only 30 days longer. That's what it
But
boils
it's-
down to.
I think it's necessary.
And I would like to see the research that you folks did. It sounds like you've already done a lot of research on the cities that will be so, it looks like Enid was 100% to the city.
Did you bring
and,
that list with you?
Yes.
We have a list right now if you want to see it.
Yeah, just the research on that. I mean, I wrote down the cities and how it works out in those cities, but I
This
didn't know
is
that
the
you had any more.
state, the state sent me this. You go see, go in front of the TV.
You do that every
You'd have to
quarter
crawl to.
over there.
Well, if you could like print it out for me
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
This is got it. Here it
Here
is.
you go.
Can I have this copy? Can I have this?
My notes on it, but okay.
All right, so to kind of round back up, so we think at this very moment in time, we want to try to put together some type of public information or another workshop. Is that your druthers? I mean, this is kind of your bailiwick now, but you.
Mine?
Yeah, well,
No,
you
it's
and
not.
John. You and Z and John.
No. I'm just putting a lot of thought out there about different things.
So, meeting again on this issue, a public information meeting, is that kind of the idea?
I think if we're gonna put it off, we have to obviously do some kind of public information meeting that is well done. It's not just a workshop, it's, I don't know. It's a little bigger than a workshop
Structured.
before a meeting,
With a
yeah.
presentation like we just did.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Liberty Lake deal, where can I make a quick presentation on it, is that fair?
Who would be
Whatever you
presenting?
guys want to do.
Presentation.
We have to.
Would be the folks who just presented?
Yeah.
I think so, I think.
Well, that's the 2/3 and that's the 1/3, so that's the
Yeah.
voice of the funds.
The lake out there's got all.
So when do you want to do it then? If you don't want to do it at the workshop,
Sherry, in that case, I'll need you to copy my notes.
I really don't see any
Oh,
ones
good.
on here, actually, I was just joking. I just saw one was marked out
Yeah,
and pretty highlights,
pretty, yeah.
missing the pink.
I'll work on that.
Well, if we do it, February, what was, February what? 13th?
February
So-
12th, but the
February
election.
12th is the election.
that's
February 12th is the election.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Fourteenth.
Who wants to raise the tax?
Oh, 14th. is.
14th.
Oh.
Yeah, February.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
close to Valentine's.
February 12th.
Why you,
Change
So
the name.
December 12th, by December
why you live
12th.
alone, Mary?
That's right.
60 days, right? So by December 12th, it has to be all ready to go and
I have to get it to the
has
election
to be
board.
ready to go. So, we really, we shouldn't really do it after the third, around the third week of November and after. We should really do it
Really.
sometime in October,
We-
early November,
We have a free week off at the end of October, because we're not,
like
'cause
30th.
we meet the 2nd, and we meet the 16th, right?
So that's the 18th.
So are you wanting to do it on a day that we don't normally meet?
I don't know, how much do we want? Do we want a 1 hour
It's the 18th.
presentation, invite public? Is that what we want to do?
I would like to do that personally.
So you're saying something like the 30th, do it?
And I don't care if it's on our city council night or what night, that's, whatever's.
Well, our next council meeting is the 16th.
Why did they print it in here the 18th then?
Call it typo.
You do it on the 30th, I don't know how many kids are having
It's wrong.
Halloween.
It's in there, Mayor Dallas wanted it.
Well, we can do it,
We'll try to watch it
So it's
more
really
well,
closely
if we
next
do it
time.
real soon, we can do it the 9th, I guess.
It's next week.
Yeah?
Oh,
You
that's,
next
I
week?
think that's a little too
Yeah.
soon.
The 23rd or, like the 23rd might be.
23rd?
I don't know about the Board of Adjustment.
Can you guys be ready by the 23rd?
We're ready now.
Okay.
They could do it next week.
We'll probably have a draft resolution ready by then.
Yeah.
Well, 23rd, we can advertise
want?
it.
Yeah, I would like to put, the word out.
So 23rd? Is that what we wanna
23rd,
do?
at what time?
Homing pigeon. Spread the word.
What you were talking about.
What time? You wanna do it here in the council chambers?
Landing
What day
arrows.
is that?
Council
It's a
chambers.
Tuesday,
Tuesday?
23rd. Like
Yeah.
6 or 7?
What's good for you, Z? You're the long driver.
If we do
the
6,
first
we
one
can
here
have
tonight.
more time to do it. If we do it 7, it gets late if we do it for
Yeah,
a
let's do
couple
it
hours.
6.
There's much interest in it or not. So 6?
Yeah.
And we may have nobody show up, but I would like
Yeah.
the opportunity for the public to hear what's up and get their thoughts.
I'll try not to be in Nigeria.
And we were Serena's second day of work here.
Yeah.
Do what?
Sorry, that will be one.
Second day.
Yeah, welcome to the job.
Yeah, I will break her in real quick.
Yeah.
All right, so with that being said, then we'll do it on the 23rd.
Got it.
Is there anything else?
6
Nothing?
o'clock.
Okay, let's close this meeting.
Future agenda items, if there's anything.
What's that?
Is there any other future agenda items other than this one?
No.
Can we put the sports complex on there? For a future agenda item, just talk about how we could get that off the ground.
Okay, you're talking about using the,
To make up an idea of how we could buy the English property to build the sports complex museum on it and house the sports museum.
I think what we do is put it on the next, if you want to talk about that specific item on the next workshop, put that specific item on the next workshop agenda and we'll talk about it then.
Yeah, because we already have the plans to build the sports complex.
Yes, we can discuss that at the next.
Can I ask another question? Sorry about the
Yeah.
tax. I mean, I understand about the Pollard needing help and other entities needing help. Is there, I don't even know how to do it or if we could or what, but somehow have some type of form that they could apply for funds? I don't know. Just
What
throwing
is
it
the
out there.
Pollard? Is it a business? Is it a foundation? What
It's
is
a
it?
nonprofit.
It's a
Nonprofit.
It's a
not-for-profit.
501c3?
Yes.
Yeah.
They receive a lot of grants.
Well, they've lost a lot. It's really
Yeah,
cut
they've
back.
got money
Arts and
right now.
From
humanities
the Ennis
really
Munch
hurt.
Foundation, they've got money
The state
from the
legislature
state.
used to, they're cutting that down.
And
It's
They don't get any anymore.
I see where you're coming from, Sherry, because this is the same issue that we kind of have with LCEDC, which is every year, there really needs to be something where they're coming to the city
Right.
and representing themselves in the fashion to say, look, because you're exactly right. It seems like over the years, there's just kind of this predetermined, okay, we're doing that. Well, and then everybody says, well, why are we doing that? So I agree with you that there needs to be some type of system in place prior to the budgetary period. I don't recall, what was the timing that we put on LCDC to come present their case?
They
Do you
will
recall?
present the first council meeting in June or before, but it has to be
So June 1,
Before then.
right.
June 1 or before.
They have to come and basically lobby the position of why they need.
Funds.
Exactly.
Or continue.
Are they
to
doing
receive
quarterly
funds.
reports too?
Yes.
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 But we can have multiple entities come in and vie for those funds and see what we do. You know,
Yeah.
so what we feel most comfortable in allocating. We might split it up and that's a possibility.
You know, T. Boone Pickens has been giving millions of dollars away to little towns in the surrounding area. He gave $1 million to Kingfisher and they didn't even have to ask for it, for a program that they were trying to get off the wall. And
And we
believe it or
have a
not,
windmill.
well, I know, but believe it or not, I think T. Boone Pickens would be interested in backing the sports museum because of so many OSU people that have come through the sports museum. That and the sports people themselves would back Richard Hendricks on this to help us get the complex built. And the kind of money we want is pocket change to T. Boone Pickens. to house something permanently and that big in this little town would put us on the map. We could have state ball tournaments here, we could have summer softball all season long. I mean, the revenue that would come off that would help Mary would be tremendous for the chamber. I mean, all you have to do is ask someone like that, and they're either going to say yes or no. And we've got a new leader coming in here that I think could take the train down the track and get it there. So I think if we focus on how we could present a program like that.
Give him naming rights. I mean, that's, he
We
likes
can,
that.
well, really, seriously, I know you think I'm
Pickens
nuts,
Sports
but there's
Complex.
merit in that. I talked to Jan Guthrie about it, and he thought it was a damn good idea. So if we work together on something, putting it together like that, and then have our new leader present it, I think it could be sold very easily. And
Let's talk about our next agenda.
I got it down for sports complex.
All right, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn us so we can all go down on